Hello everybody. So today I want to talk about the 4 cheapest stocks in my coverage universe, and I actually own meaningful positions in 3 of them: HIMS, Stoneco, and Lantheus. Love is more of a play position for me. So let me get started telling you why are these stocks cheap. These stocks are cheap based on the metric that I always use on this channel, which is enterprise value over gross profit over revenue growth. This metric allows me to answer the question, how much am I paying for each percentage point of coming up growth, of next 12 months growth? These are the growth numbers given by analysts for the next 12 months, their predictions for the next 12 months. And I want to pay as little as possible for each percentage of growth that I'm going to get for each of these stocks. So let me get started with the first stock. The cheapest stock that I own is HIMS and Hers company. So this company, HIMS, is what? The way I describe it is a digital doctor, electronic doctor, and an electronic pharmacy minus insurance. So while in the regular traditional healthcare system, you have to find a doctor, get a prescription, bring that prescription to a pharmacy, and then get your medication, and then you have to deal with your insurance, and your insurance dictates what is reimbursed, what is not reimbursed, which doctor you can see, which doctor you can't see. HIMS removes the complexity of the insurance by entirely removing it, and by removing it is able to offer products at very reasonable prices, and it makes the whole process of seeing a doctor and going to a pharmacy very, very easy. It's an app. It's a single app, all in one. You don't have to worry about finding a doctor and a separate pharmacy. And that's why they're gaining a lot of market share, because they're easy. They're easy to understand. They're the Amazon-style product. They're the buy it now product. It doesn't require a lot of energy to figure out how healthcare works with HIMS. HIMS is self-explanatory. 90% of the revenue for HIMS is recurring, which makes this company crazy in terms of valuation, because you should really have a company that should be trading close to SaaS valuation, if that makes some sense, because most of the revenue here is recurring. They don't have to fight for every single sale that they make because they have 90% recurring revenue. Why is it mostly recurring revenue, and why is this company trading so cheap despite it being so I don't know why this company is so cheap. But anyways, 90% recurring revenue, what that means is, why is that? Because they cover chronic health issues, chronic health conditions like ED, hair loss, depression, weight loss. These are chronic issues that require long-term, multi-month treatment. That's why they're able to do 90% recurring revenue. HIMS focuses on a lot of induced demand. They create a lot of their own demand. They go after a demographic which oftentimes simply doesn't get treated because the insurance system is just too complex. It's just too complex to figure out how much you're going to have to pay in the reimbursement. They want to have an app. Younger demographics want to have an easy app. So it doesn't compete with what I call the sick care system, which is really, if you look at our healthcare system, it's really designed for people that are 60 plus. It doesn't compete with that. It doesn't compete with a sick care system. It addresses a different need, a need that happens for your health very much earlier on, before you go through jumping all of the hoops of the traditional healthcare system. HIMS products come earlier in someone's life. And the last thing that I'll say about HIMS and why I love this stock so much is a lot of people, I think, don't realize that the reason why HIMS is able to grow so fast and able to grow much faster than, say, a Teladoc, for example. That reason, in my view, is because they don't have insurance. They don't accept insurance. It's all easy payment, no insurance. And so you don't have all of that administrative work that doctors have to do under the regular healthcare system. Having no insurance, accepting no insurance, means that HIMS is able to move very fast and offer customized drugs, customized products really, 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 really fast. Doctors in the traditional healthcare system, they can only prescribe things that they know is going to be reimbursed and that is accepted by insurance and as a code within their insurance companies. HIMS doesn't have to do that. So HIMS can make its own drugs and grow fast outside of the insurance system. So that's enough for him. So let me move on to the next company, which is Stoneco. So Stoneco is the leading small business payment terminal in Brazil. They have a little more than 3 million small businesses in Brazil. And keep in mind, there's a lot of small business in Brazil, much more than, say, in the United States. And they have more than 3 million of those who use these payment terminals like this. It's very, very much, very, very similar to the Square app, to the original Square in the US, Square payment terminals. That's how they got started in the US. Well, Stoneco is that, but without the Cash app. Stoneco is simply the payment terminals. They've had an amazing investor day at Stoneco back in November, in which they showed that really their business right now is mostly payments for medium, small, and micro-sized businesses, but especially small businesses. Micro businesses is a tiny section of your business. A micro business is something we don't have out in the West. It's a business that really makes a few hundreds of dollars a month. It's a micro business. It's a very Brazil and perhaps Latin America specific type of business. Anyways, right now their business is mostly the payments and mostly for small businesses. And this is where they want to expand. They've just started doing some banking for small business, but they want banking for medium and micro businesses. So they want to expand to banking for all of these three kinds of businesses. And then they want to do software. They acquired Links, a software company that's kind of a mini QuickBooks. They want to do software for all of these. And then they want to get back into credit. And if you know anything about this company, the reason why this company is so cheap is because they had an issue with the collateral on their loans in 2021, and the stock has dropped ever since, and it's never really recovered. Even at $18 a share right now, this is a very inexpensive stock. If you look at the price, it's trading at 2x revenues. I can't think of a company in the payment space that is anywhere close to this level of cheapness. Quick commentary on the rule of 40. So you may know the rule of 40 is something from that we get from SaaS, where if you had revenue growth and profit margin, you should get more than 40. Well, I use EBITDA margin because I think it's a much a better calculation of a true economic state of the firm, the true economic profitability of the firm, and I use revenue growth just like for rule of 40. So Stoneco achieves, per my calculation, a rule of 87. A rule of 87, the way I look at it. So it's absolutely outstanding how effective this company is, in addition to being cheap, right? This is not a measure of cheapness. This is a measure of growth. So that's absolutely outstanding. And so is HIMS. HIMS has a 64. The company I'm talking about next at the 69 is also excellent. Only Lovesac is not going to do too well on that metric. So these three businesses here that are meaningful positions for me, achieve well above a rule of 40. Let me finish quickly with Stoneco. And I could have said the same thing about HIMS, by the way. HIMS also has a long-term guidance. I just haven't covered it in this video. The long-term guidance of HIMS is absolutely excellent too. You're getting into a multi-bagger in a matter of a few years as well for HIMS. HIMS also has a buyback, although it's only a $50 million buyback for HIMS. Stoneco has a few more financial points going for it. So one of them is, so they got cheap financing from some emerging international equity deal that helps businesses, that helps small businesses. Anyways, they got some ESG financing at $467 million for very cheap, and they also have a program in place, a $206 million buyback in place. Keep in mind how cheap this company is. This is great that they have this buyback, but they've given us long-term guidance, and so I typically don't like to use adjusted net income and ratios of net income. I prefer price to sales on this channel, or price to gross profit. But nonetheless, they've guided net income. They've guided adjusted net income of $880 million by the end of 2027. So I'm going to use that. And if I use $880 million USD net income by the end of 27, and I do a 24x, which is the current ratio that they have. So the current quote unquote P ratio that they have is 24x. You get to a 21.1 billion market cap for this company, for Stoneco, by 2027. So compared to today's market cap, that would be almost a 4x in 5 years. So if you ask me, that's 33% CAGR each year for 5 years. This stock, if they achieve their long-term guidance, in my view, will be an outstanding investment, and I'm happy to own it, knowing that I have actually equal size in HIMS and Stoneco. They're each a little more than 5% of my portfolio each. So I love these two companies. I think they're as far as cheap stocks go and as far as growth goes. I think it's very hard to beat. Let me move on to Lantheus. So Lantheus is a stock that I added recently, but I guess my viewers are not really still my viewers really don't know too much about that one because I've covered it only once. But I consider Lantheus to be very close to HIMS and Stoneco in all of the metrics that I see. Keep in mind I may have some bias because of Lantheus because I've already gotten lucky, quote unquote, with blockbuster drugs. I remember owning AbbVie back in the day, and AbbVie provided outstanding returns for my portfolio because they had this blockbuster drug called Humira, and that created so much profit. And I think a company like Lantheus, which is actually a pretty old company, I think they are in that area where they have this blockbuster drug, which is called Pylarify, which is taking over the prostate cancer screening market. I know it sounds very, very specific, but nonetheless, this is a company that is trading dirt cheap, and yet they have a quote-unquote miracle product. When you listen to the conference call, you realize there's really no competition against this product. Quickly, this is just it's an injection or something that you take before you go for your scan, and then it sticks to your cancer cells and it eliminates false negatives. Right? It eliminates the false negatives. It avoids people to go get a scan, and the doctor tells you, oh, you're fine, you don't have any cancer, and actually you do. That's what it does. It eliminates false negatives, and of course, it's a very meaningful market. Obviously, prostate cancer is the leading cancer for men. So what's fascinating to me is that the way I look at it, you could have the revenues for this company, keeping in mind that 70% of Lantheus's revenue are from Pylarify. The revenues from this blockbuster drug, per my estimate, could 4x in 4 years. These revenues could 4x in 4 years. And in addition to that, they have a pending European approval for that product. So a 4x in 4 years, this means that this is a blockbuster company that has a tremendous avenue for growth, and next to no competition in that very, very specific space. And if you look at the gross margin, it's excellent. Revenue growth is excellent. And the pricing, this is trading at 3 times revenue, 64% gross margin trading at 3 times revenue. EBITDA margin is 20%, so you get a 69 on the rule of 40, and you still get under 0.1. So it's still dirt cheap. It's barely more expensive than Stoneco, but for a little more growth than Stoneco. So I'm very impressed by this stock. And keep in mind, I go through hundreds of stock in my spreadsheet to try to look EV over GP over RG under 10. I go through hundreds. I've got on this mission to find stocks that are as cheap as HIMS or Stoneco. And this is as close as it gets. Well, actually, Love also gets there, but Love doesn't have anywhere near the explosive growth that these other companies have. So let me finish with Love. Love, and it will be interesting for you to look at Love, I suppose, because you can clearly see that the only reason why Lovesac is in this category of super cheap stock, HIMS, Stoneco, Lantheus. Why is a stock like Lovesac in here, and why is it actually cheaper than even Lantheus on this? The only reason is because this is a company whose enterprise value is 0.74. So this is trading below sales. This company is trading at less than one times sales. So that's the reason for not a declining company. This is still a growth company. Okay, 15%. I'm a growth snob, so for me it's not very good. But the reason why this company is only growing at 15% is because we kind of have the real estate market that came to a halt. And because the real estate market came to a halt, nobody's buying furniture if you don't buy real estate. You typically, you look at household formation. Typically what happens is people buy a house and all of a sudden they have all of this space, and then what do? They start buying furniture. That's kind of how it works. So this is temporary revenue growth. But when I look at this metric, I'm like, much of the cheapness of this EV over GP over RG for Lovesac is due to the fact that they're trading at not even one-time sales. So it's dirt cheap company. This is a company that has been sold off. It's a sell-off. It's a collateral damage from the what I like to call the nobody will ever buy real estate again narrative, which we've had in this market. You listen to CNBC, interest rates 7%, thinking people are just not going to buy a house. That people are just going to live in the forest because interest rate is 7%, which is Keynesian thinking, Keynesian economics. It's like, no, people buy a house because they need a house. They don't necessarily buy a house because interest rates are cheap. You buy a house because you need a house. But anyways, that's for a different conversation. So Lovesac, what do? Quickly, they sell trendy furniture. I mean, this is just the only way I'm going to say it. It's like, who buys a very expensive bean bag? Well, some people do. Some people want to pay $1,500 for a bean bag. Better be comfortable. But you'd be surprised when I compare this company to, say, like your typical chair in America, which would be like your lazy boy recliner or whatever. It's actually the same price as a lazy boy recliner, but think about that. I mean, look at this. This is margin. This is pure margin. I mean, this is just foam in there. Think about these amazing margins. I'd rather sell a bag with foam in it for $1,500 than sell something that has like a factory, a plant, upholstery. Oh, so complex. No. I want to sell a beanbag for a bunch of money. That's why they have 56% gross margin. And the bulk of their business is actually this, which is these reconfigurable sectionals that can be changed to infinity and accommodate all sorts of needs. Anyways, the product is not as important as, just know some people like those products, and that's not what's important to me when I look at this stock. What's important to me is how cheap they are. They're extremely cheap. Their showrooms are also very small and much more competitive than competing stores. You still have stores. Lazy boy, I'm thinking of, who builds like these giant stores in strip malls that must cost, I don't know, maybe $10 million a store. In the era of internet and in the era of shipping, so it's kind of baffling how legacy thinking can lead you to make mistakes like that. But anyways, that's Lovesac for you. Perhaps the least interesting stock out of the four, but nonetheless, it reaches under a 10 on my metric, which is special in and out of itself. It's very special. So this was not investment advice. This is just entertainment, edutainment, no financial advice. Please please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.